This isn't a specific post with regards to my Betty personal training, however, and that's why I'm not in gym wear. However, because first and foremost I'm a wife and a mum, I wanted to come on and just talk about a subject because of the global pandemic of COVID, something that as a family that we've had to come through with regards to anxiety in one of our children. And I think that I wanted to share our video because I feel like we are through the other side of it pretty much. Obviously it's still an ongoing process and it will still kind of continue within my daughter, but I feel like now she's got certain tools that not only herself but me, my husband, my son, as well as other people that might be watching this may be able to implement to help them with regards to any kind of anxieties that something like a global pandemic can cause out of nowhere. So firstly, to just give you a bit of background, my daughter, she's 7 years old. She's never really had any issues with anxiety. She's loved going to school. She does martial arts. She does judo, and she's always kind of not wanted to go to parties. So big groups of people. She's always not felt comfortable with that. But because I'm very much like that and my husband's very much like that, then she's doubly probably like that. And because we are a very homely family, we like to be at home, we like the comforts of home. We've never really thought of it as an issue that could potentially lead on to more extreme anxiety, should I say. And then the global pandemic came and COVID hit and the first lockdown happened. And because we'd normally travel to Leicester, Northampton, we've got family all over, we're always in and out at weekends visiting family. Then when we then for 5 months didn't go in the car, she wasn't going to school. Then when the restrictions eased slightly after the first lockdown and we went to go in the car, she jumped out as I was reversing off the drive and had a major panic attack, nothing like I've ever seen before. And then that was the start. So to cut a really long story short, she got to the point where she couldn't even sit in the car. We'd sit in the drive. We'd not be able to go for walks. And a lot of it stemmed from the fact that when you've got, I'm very similar, when you are like a perfectionist, you want to do everything right, you don't want to get told off. I've always been like that from a child at school, and I think she's very similar to that. And when you have a personality like that, then even though she wasn't getting told off at school, when you're having restrictions put on you, like don't get within 2 meters of somebody, only go out for one walk a day, then what seemed to happen was that she then created this pressure on herself, and she then panicked that she'd get something wrong and she'd get told off, even though she wasn't. She was putting that pressure on herself, and then it then highlighted that she then didn't want to go out and she didn't want to go to school because she was then one of the years that could go back after the first lockdown, and she really wanted to. So as a parent, we spoke about it, we gave her the choice, she then chose to, and then this then created a whole new anxiety that I've never seen before. And as a parent, you want to fix it, but it's out of your control to some degree. You can't get inside of their head and tell them not to think that way. So we had to then come up with tools to help her. And what we found was an amazing book called My Hidden Chimp, and it's the children's version of the Chimp Paradox. I've not read the Chimp Paradox. However, even as an adult, going through this with both my daughter and my younger son, who's younger than Faith, he's only 4, they both understood it and both actually enjoyed the different activities that it did. And what it recognises is that actually for everybody, anxiety, worry, stress, negativity, as well as happiness, positivity, joyfulness, all of those are normal feelings. It's not a case of don't feel that way. It's a case of acknowledging, okay, I feel that way, but okay, how can I not let that stop me? Because these feelings that we get actually can be used to protect us. So we want to have some level of worry or anxiety so that we don't then step in front of a car. So we use it as a protection. So those feelings that are classed as kind of more negative actually can protect us at times, but it's not allowing those feelings to then stop us from doing things that aren't going to cause us harm and our everyday kind of tasks and things that we need to do to get through life. So within the book, it talks about how we all have this chimp that's in our head. So we've got the front part of our brain, the back part of our brain, which everybody has. But it talks about the side of the brain that's like your chimp that tries to stop you from being happy, tries to stop you from doing things that are actually might be fun, might be good for you, and it kind of makes you question it. And by going through this with my daughter, it was actually brilliant, because different things that I've not felt comfortable with, as like little things like not wanting to walk through a field with cows in. I've never been attacked by a cow, never had an issue with cows, but I always felt nervous. Whereas when I was getting my daughter to overcome her feelings, I then thought, okay, well, let me challenge myself. So it did make me also look at myself and how I sometimes can feel nervous about doing things like Instagram lives, which I've now done. I would feel very nervous doing them. However, I then spoke to my chimp and said, no, the Instagram lives are benefiting other people. I really want to do this, so I'm going to do it. So with this book, it talks about how normalising those feelings and then acknowledging, okay, what can we do to then tell that chimp to kind of shut up, basically. And it recognises that smiling, and it gives you different steps that you can do to kind of tell that chimp to go away. And even if you don't feel like smiling, there's something in your brain that when you force a smile, it actually, your mind kind of sometimes doesn't realise that it's a false smile, so it releases those feel-good feelings anyway. So as an example, my daughter couldn't sit in the car even. That's how her anxiety elevated to a new level. Even though it started little, it then got heightened and heightened, and to the point where I actually did have a conversation with a child therapist, because as a parent, I didn't want to kind of force something that was then going to cause long-term trauma, but I also didn't want to not make her do certain little things like sitting in a car or going around the block in the car, because it's kind of normalising that it's okay to be nervous doing those things. So, and we need to go in a car, we need to be able to get places. So I needed her to be able to overcome that and eventually be able to go to school and go for walks like we normally would. So what the child therapist said was, thankfully, was yes, don't force it, and to an extreme, kind of don't just shove her in the car and drive all the way to Leicester first time with her kicking and screaming. However, build it up. So that gave me the reassurance that what I was doing was the right thing, because I was still wanting her to sit in the car. And I had to tell the neighbours, I do apologise, because the screams, the level of anxiety that kind of was coming from her, I'd never witnessed anything. And then in an evening, she'd be over the toilet, kind of holding her head as if I'm going to be sick, I'm going to be sick, because it came out, the anxiety came out as I've got a poorly tummy. So I was able to highlight that, okay, you've got a poorly tummy, what are you thinking about to cause yourself to feel as though you've got that poorly tummy? Because those butterfly feelings, that nervous energy that I actually talk about in my meditations, that is a real feeling. You feel those butterflies, you feel that nervous energy, but why? What are we thinking about to cause that? So I would then sit her down, okay, what are you thinking about? And she would then say, and she'd remember any kind of negativity that she'd experienced. Like she went to a judo class and she ended up being sick there because she picked up a bug from somebody at school. However, she then just focused on the fact that she was sick, and she'd gone to judo and she was sick, and then she was remembering it, and then remembering any time that she'd kind of literally any negative thing that had happened in an evening. So then it was okay talking about, okay, that's not happened, that's gone. You weren't sick because of judo, you were sick because you'd caught a bug, which is normal. Everybody gets bugs, and you've not got a bug now, you're absolutely fine. And it was just that reassurance. And then she actually started getting into watching meditation at night, and then that would help her drift off into a really good sleep, and she'd sleep all night and have really good sleep patterns. So it was just building up that, okay, let's go for a walk, let's just go to the end of the drive, walk back. And then we actually built it up, and we can now go for hour-long walks. She's now back at school, she's now going in the car absolutely fine. And it's a case of, it's a long process, as it didn't happen overnight. And what I'm trying to say is that this was with a 7-year-old, and as a parent it was heartbreaking, because I wanted to fix it and I wanted to see that she was absolutely fine, but she needed to know it, she needed to get these tools to acknowledge it. And as much as I didn't want my 7-year-old to be going through this at this time, nobody can predict that you're going to go through a global pandemic and the mental health of children and what it's going to, kind of the impact it's going to have. However, I do kind of feel blessed that now, we went to a climbing wall before then, this second lockdown, and she got halfway up, kept coming down, halfway up, coming back down. And we then just had a conversation of, why do you keep coming down halfway up? And it's like, oh, I can't get to the top. So then we'd say, well, is that your chimp saying that? And she'd say, yes. And then we'd say, well, does it cause you to feel kind of that nervous feeling? Yes. What's going to happen when you get to the top? Are you going to be in any kind of pain? No. What's the worst that's going to happen? Well, I'm going to fall off, but the rope's going to catch me. And lo and behold, the next climb she did, she got all the way to the top. And then every climb she did from then, she got to the top. And she then watched I'm a Celebrity and saw Jordan at the top of the cliff. And my heart, that I could have cried when she kind of turned and said, Jordan didn't let his chimp take over, because even though he was sick, he still went on and did it. And for a 7-year-old to acknowledge that, I thought was remarkable. And then thinking that as she gets older, as different things come up in life, that things do happen. Life isn't a case of everything's plain sailing and nothing happens. We get hurdles. That is life. But it's a case of, okay, what tools can I implement to help me feel better, not let it take over, kind of internalize what I am feeling, let go of any feelings that aren't of value to us, so that we can then kind of get on with our life and overcome things. And the joy and the sense of happiness that she feels now, knowing that she's overcome those things, and how proud we are of her. Because at one stage, I am not going to lie, I thought, oh my gosh, she's going to not want to leave her room. She feels that nervous and that anxious. I don't know what we're going to do. And like I say, it's been a long process, but thankfully, and I do owe a lot to this Hidden Chimp book, as well as creating bottles of water with glitter in, and explaining that, okay, when we start to feel nervous, shake that bottle, you've got the glitter that's going all over the place, which is our feelings inside. What have we got to do to stop that glitter from going all over the place and our feelings going crazy? Well, we have to be still. So take that time, big deep breaths. There are breathing practices that you can do. Take a nice big inhales to the count of 4, hold to the count of 7, and then exhale for the count of 8. That's a relaxation breathing technique. So there are things that you can then do to overcome it. So I'm really sorry for the really long video, but I just felt that, I know that most people are following me because of Better You and fitness, my meditations, things like that. But I also wanted to show that I am a mom, I am a wife. It's not a case of like we don't have things or challenges. Every family does. And I wanted to think that if me sharing this book and things that we've done to try and help our daughter with her anxiety, if that could help one person, then I'll be really thankful that I've done this video. And I hope you've all benefited from it. And if your children or even adults, like I say, I've learned a lot from this book, even though it's the children version of the Chimp Paradox. So feel free to comment, send me any kind of messages if you're going through this as a family, either currently or if you've overcome it. Then I'd love to hear from you. And if you are going through a challenging time at the minute, do reach out, do talk, do share how you're feeling. I cancelled all my PTs in a week, and the video that I did on energy levels previously that you may have seen, that was because I felt so low, because I was giving all my energy to my daughter and trying to help her, that I also did things within my home to help with the positive energy and to do things to increase the positivity around our home. And I can guarantee, I can hand on my heart say that those things worked. And it also gave me the energy by doing those little changes, that I then was able to feel better in myself, because I'd be no good if I got poorly or if I was kind of not being positive. I wouldn't have been able to help my daughter. So there are things that you can do. You're going to have low days. Like I said, I cancelled all my PTs to enable myself to focus on my daughter. So if you are struggling, please reach out to loved ones, strangers, reach out to myself. I can obviously go through the different things that we did in more detail. But I hope you're all okay. I hope you've all had a great week and you have a great weekend. Do something today. Treat yourself to something that is a treat for you, for getting through the week, and have a fabulous weekend.